Good morning. This is Kathy with Harriet's Papery, and today we're going to work in my journal. This is a journal that I made for myself last year sometime, and I haven't done very much work in it because I thought I would use it and make craft with me videos, and I haven't done very many of them. So there's very little done in this journal. So today we're going to start out making a pocket, and this is going to be how I usually make my journal pockets. So I have this piece of paper bag here, and I've already actually checked it for size and put a fold in it so we could just kind of speed along with this part of the project. But I put it in there, find the size that I need it to be, and then fold it a few times and just tear it. And sometimes it's kind of tricky when you've got a paper bag and it's kind of the part of the bag where it's got a lot of folds in it. As you saw there, it just kind of wanted to tear over to that other fold. But that's okay, because we are going to use this little piece of paper right here in it. So we'll move the journal out of the way for this part. So I want to use this scalloped part. So we're going to see how big we need to tear this. And I'm just going to leave the brown paper underneath there. And we're just going to tear it. A lot of times I fold it, but I thought this might be a little more expedient for filming. And see if we can get this straight before I start to tear it. It's okay if it's a little bit bigger than the brown paper piece, because we're not actually going to really see too much of the brown paper piece. The brown paper piece is more for strength, because sometimes the scrap pages you're using aren't super strong. So sometimes I make this piece, especially when I'm just really doing it scrappy, this piece is a little bit shorter than this piece, and so I'll put it down like that and then maybe fold this over. But today I am not going to do that. I'm gonna just glue this down. And sometimes I use my pockets to give my journal more color, or sometimes you want to tone down the color, so you'd use neutral, so you might use this side instead of the green side of the paper. So there we have the pocket, and I'm not going to do a lot of decorating on this one because that might be a future project for us here. But then I will pull the journal page back down here, and we're going to glue it in here. Now, if you were wanting to do this like to sew it in, you might do this before you put your journal together. But of course, that's not what we're doing here. So I glue like this, and I will be honest, I often do not get a piece of paper and slip behind it like I'm doing right now. But let's do it the right way here and not get glue all over our nice journal. right. And I like to get it in against that corner in the bottom first. And sometimes they don't fit like you're going to think, or like you think they're going to. See, I can't even talk today. So you want to make sure they're not sticking down to a page behind it once you pull this out. So I like to keep a page in there just so it's sticking to scrap paper and not my journal. All right, so there we have a pocket. And one of the other things I wanted to do in my journal today is to add some lace on some of the pages. And I haven't even decided which ones I'm going to do it on, so I'm just going to kind of flip through and see where I might want to add some. See what pages look like. They want a little bit of ruffly lace on them. And I've got a couple different laces here that I'm going to play with. I think this page wants some really fancy lace here. So I think I'll put it on like that, and this I will glue on. I actually rarely sew in my ruffles because I don't like the way the sewing looks on the back side of the page. So let's get another sheet of paper here. These half sheets are all leftovers from printing shipping labels in my other business. All right. I think I'll just glue it in and then trim it. It looks like we're staying in frame. Sometimes you forget what you're doing and you just start doing stuff and don't realize you're like doing tons of stuff out of frame and people can't see. I'm guilty of it, and I think everybody's probably done it at some point. Alright, and then you have to kind of carefully stick some of this lace down because sometimes it doesn't like to stick down right at first. And if you cut it, sometimes you stick it on both ends and then it was actually just a little bit short and it does weird things to your paper, so you have to pull it back up. Kind of warps it because it's sucking the paper kind of up because it's too short. I never remember to bring everything over to the desk where I film. Never, never, never. One of those things. I know I'm gonna forget stuff. I try not to. Try to get all the stuff. But somehow there's always that one vitally important thing. Like the scissors. I hope you guys are all having a good late winter. We are having so much snow here. In February, we don't actually usually get a lot of snow. And we're having the umpteenth snowstorm of the month today. And we've had, I don't know, like we've had so many snowstorms with 4 or 5 inches of snow. It's just kind of like, for us, it's usually more like that in December. So it's kind of a pain because at this point we're usually out of snow. It's melted off, rained off, or whatever. But this winter was just different. We didn't get very much snow in December, and every time it snowed it just melted off, and so now we're getting overwhelmed with snow, whether we like it or not. We should have slipped this paper in first. Go. So I just kind of squeeze it down as I go. So there's another ruffle. Let's see. Let's do some in another signature because we've got a couple in that one now. Maybe right here. We'll use the same eyelet. If I can find the end of it. There we go. I'm going to show you guys on this one what it does to your paper if you're not careful. Cut it a little bit longer than it needs to be. But I'm going to stick it down so it's a little bit short. So you can see what I'm talking about. And if you guys have been doing this for a while, you know what I'm talking about. Because I generally presume that my watchers are people who are actually doing this stuff. Because who else watches Craft With Me videos? That's what I do. I watch people who are doing the kind of stuff I like to do. For ideas, for fun, just to see. Okay, so now I've got this kind of glued down good. So now we're just gonna see if we can wreck this a little. And I'm gonna glue that a little too far up. And see how it kind of warps your page. And if you don't, it works a lot better if you don't realize you're doing it, of course. But that's not what we want. We don't want to warp our page. Oh, and look how pretty that looks. I love it. All right. Usually I don't put ruffles on, like, pages like this I consider writing pages. So I usually don't do a lot of fancy work on them. I might put words on them if it's a prayer journal. But I try to leave them just completely free for writing on. But pages like this, sometimes they scream for a little something something. I'm looking for a page for a special piece of lace I have. It's just really pretty, and I think this is the page. So I have this lace here that I picked up at a thrift store, not for the 29 cents you see there. But I don't use this very much because I think it's so pretty, so I always sort of save it and hoard it for special things. And I think when you're making a journal for yourself, that you should use the special things because you're going to use it. You're going to love those things, whether it's special paper, trims, whatever. I think you deserve to have the pretty things in the journal that you're making for yourself. And I kind of feel the same way. Anybody who makes stuff, a lot of people make stuff to sell, and then they never keep anything really special for themselves, or maybe even nothing for themselves. I may have gotten too much glue on here. But I think that if you make hand knit sweaters, for example, I say that because I'm a knitter. I make most of my sweaters. I think that you should be keeping some special stuff for yourself, or making special stuff for yourself. That's just how I feel about it in general. Let's see. Maybe 2 more in the last one. I have a real tendency to put my ruffles on this side of the page, so I've been lately trying to really not do it that way. I'm going to stick some on this side of the page. There's not really any reason that I do it like that. I think I just get in a habit. I mean, we all find ourselves getting into weird little habits sometimes that we think, why am I doing that? When my husband and I first got married, he liked to say that he didn't like to do the same stuff all the time. And then a couple years in, we were clearly, you know, had to go to coffee to the same little place, or go eat at the same restaurant all the time. And finally he confessed that he probably really just liked to do the same thing all the time. But it was so cute because he was insistent we had to do things different every time. He is just the sweetest man. God definitely blessed me when he chose my husband for me. My first marriage was not very good, so I prayed a lot for my second marriage, that if I got married again, he would be a godly man, and that he would always go to church with me and stuff like that. My first marriage, we were not Christians when we got married. We became Christians later, but there were a lot of issues already. And since my kids have gotten older, their dad has told them just stuff that just makes my heart cry for him about his childhood. And a lot of it explains a lot of the problems we had in our marriage. And it just makes me sad that he didn't even feel like he could share stuff like that with me. All right. Here's our last ruffle. And I'm sure it's probably stuck down. Yes, it is. All right. Well, there's some stuff in the journal again. And I look forward to doing some more of these videos. I'm going to try to do one every week. But Okay, I'm back. I had a little problem with my camera. Anyway, I was saying I would like to try to do one of these every week, but we'll see, because as we all know, life happens. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.